لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. ربنا زدنا علما أجمعين وعلمنا الكتاب آمين. So what did everyone think of the tests?
I'm the poorest mark I got.
How do you know? You don't know that. So here's the stats. The stats were that we had so far. I don't think we still have some more people who are taking the test. We had six people take the test.
So, 1% come home. Like,
Yeah. So one person, and I still have one person who's gonna take the test, but they were on vacation. They were on break last week. So these are the stats like from last week. So the highest was 97.5, and I can't say. The average was. Is this a symbol for average? Something like that. The average was 78.5. So basically, what I'm just saying is that I just wanted to say was, there were some people who did good and some people who did not so good. But even if you did not do so good, what you should try to focus on is basically what you have gained or what you have learned from the last 3 months or so. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff that you've learned, and if you didn't um, fully express that on the test, I don't see it as you not knowing it. I know that you know it, and you can get it. Just when it takes a little bit more time. So what we're gonna do, inshallah, is we're going to keep working on mudaf, like main concepts of book one, mudaf ilayhi, na'at and man'ut and stuff like that, so that keep it'll keep building up in book two. Okay. Um, and we might even do like just like the same thing that we did, like conversations and stuff on Fridays, where I just pick book one material, um, and you just focus on that. So I think that will help initially. Okay. But before we go on to book two, we're gonna do verbs basically. So I just wanted to focus this week and a little bit of next week on that. Okay. So basically, when we were talking about um, sentences, right, or jumlas, we said that there were two types of sentences, right? There was nominal sentence, and this is called jumla. جملة الاسمية. Jumlatul Ismiya is a nominal sentence, right? What are the two components of it? There's two things that are in a nominal sentence. Mubtada and khabar, right? So you have a mubtada. What do you call mubtada in English? Subject. Okay. Subject. And then the khabar you call predicate. What's another word for it that we said? News. Right? Khabar literally means news. Okay. But you have mubtada and khabar. Khabarun. Okay. So we said any nominal sentence is going to have these two pieces, right? So you have mubtada and khabar. All right. The second type of sentence that that we did learn was the verbal sentence. Verbal sentence. And that's called al-jumlatu al-ismiyya. فعلية. So verbal sentence also has, at the minimum, two components. Okay, what are they? At the minimum, a verbal sentence has to have two components. What's the first component, or what's a component?
Verb.
It has to have a
Verb.
verb. Good. So there's verb. So you're gonna have a verb, which is in Arabic called فعل. 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 Okay. فعل. And also, so if you have a verb, how do you know who's doing the action? What else do you need? No. If you have someone doing something, who's that someone? What is that called? Foul.
No, it's preposition.
So you have the verb itself, the action, and then the doer of the action is called. We just call it subject. Okay. So in English we call it subject, but in Arabic we're gonna say fa'il. Fa'ilun. So this subject is different than this subject. Okay, so don't confuse the two. This is just an English term, because in English they say the subject of the verb, right? So if I say John ate, right? So John is the subject, and the action that he's doing is eating. Okay, um, but in mubtada and khabar, like this, the mubtada. So I'm gonna use the Arabic terms, or we're gonna use the Arabic terms in this class to say mubtada is in the nominal sentence, and then the fa'il is in the verbal sentence. Okay, so we call that fa'il. Okay? So at the minimum, this is the verbal sentence. So basically, our goal is to learn what are the fi'l and what is the fa'il. Okay, that's basically it. And we're going to focus on past tense. Okay. So
Nominal sentence start with the noun, isn't
it can, it doesn't have to. What else did I want to say about this?
it?
Okay, what's kharaja?
Left, he left.
Okay, so this is an example of a three root letter verb, right? So it's a three root letter verb because it has three roots, right? You have, in Arabic you call this, hold on, I'll explain this. Okay, so this is, we'll start it off easy. We'll say this is the first root, okay? The kha is the first root. The ra is obviously the second root, and then the ja is the third root. Okay? First root, third root, second root, third root. So when the scholars of Arabic, they were studying this and they were like classifying all of this, they basically brought it down to uh, they made a pattern, or they categorized this all into a pattern. So all three letter roots can be in fa'ala. Okay, this is the pattern that we're going to learn. It is a verb, but we're just going to learn that this is like the pattern which they all fall under. Okay, so they said that the first root they call the fa kalima. I'll write it in. Fa kalima. So you don't have to write the Arabic portion. You can just write fa kalima. So this is the first root is always called in Arabi the fa kalima because you're basing it off of fa'ala. What's the second root going to be called? No. Ayn kalima. So every root, this is going to be called the ayn kalima. Ayn kalima. Okay, and then the third root is going to be called the lam kalima. Lam kalima. Okay. So anytime you have a three-letter verb, you're always going to have a fa kalima, an ayn kalima, and a lam kalima. Okay? Okay. Now we're going to switch a little bit, and we're gonna talk about how non-Arab scholars classified this. So when non-Arab scholars like Germans and French and English, they studied the Arabic language. They took the roots for these, and then they called them radicals. Okay, so they called the fa kalima the first radical, and then the ayn kalima they called that the second radical. Third, the lam kalima they took it and called it the third radical. Okay? So just basically think of it as a root, right? So you have the first root, the second root, and the third root. They just call it radical. Don't know why. First radical, second radical, third radical. Okay, but we're gonna use that interchangeably. We're gonna say fa kalima or first radical, right? So if I have a verb like dhahaba, and I ask what's the first radical, what would you say? What's the first radical? The, right? So the is the first root, so that's going to be my first radical. Okay. What if I ask you where is the lam kalima in dhahaba? The ba, right? So it's always it's the end, the last one. So that's your lam kalima. Okay. This is for three-letter verbs. Right? There are four-letter verbs, but we're gonna come across them later. Okay. And then what's the second root? Or the ayn kalima, right? So I'm just saying that you're going to use either. I can say ayn kalima, I can say second radical, I can say the second root letter. Okay, so all of these are basically talking about the same thing. Okay? All right, so now I'm going to write a bunch of verbs. You don't have to know their names and stuff, but I'm just going to write them. Okay, so notice what I'm going to write. So I wrote kharaja, right? Fa kalima, ayn kalima, and lam kalima. Okay, dhahaba, fa kalima, ayn kalima, lam kalima. Kataba. Okay, fa kalima is kaf, ayn kalima is ta, and then lam kalima is ba. Okay, so kharaja, kataba, dhahaba. Okay, let me write something else. What did I write? Sami'a. Sami'a. Okay. So, where's my first radical? What's it? First radical? Seen. What's my second radical? Mim. And then the third radical is? Ayn. Okay. Sami'a. Hold on. Hold on to that one. Oh. This one some of you might know. Shariba. So, Shariba Sami'a. Okay. And then I'm going to write What did I write here?
Karuma.
Karuma. Okay. Karuma. And I'm gonna write another one. What is this? Ba'uda. Ba'uda. Okay. Ba'uda. Okay. So all of these are three-letter verbs, right? They all have a fa kalima, they all have an ayn kalima, they all have a lam kalima. What's different about them? Some of them have a kasra, some of them have a dhamma, but what is the same about them having a dhamma or kasra? Okay, so the change from kataba to sami'a to karuma, the change is only in which radical? The second radical, right? So only in the second radical am I going from can I have a fatha, a kasra, or a dhamma? So the rule is with three-letter verbs, majority of them, the first and second radical does not change. It stays fatha. So the fa kalima and ayn kalima will always be fatha. Always be fatha. Fa kalima, lam. Sorry, I didn't mean fa kalima and lam kalima. I think I said fa and ayn. So the first radical and the third radical will always have fatha. The second radical, the ayn kalima, you can have a fatha, you can have a kasra, or you can have a dhamma. That's the first thing. We learned that's one thing that we were doing. We have 20 minutes. So basically write down the first and third radicals are always fatha. The second radical, the middle radical, can be fatha dhamma kasra.
Rules for what?
This is rules for three-letter verbs. Three-letter verbs. And more specifically for past tense. Okay.
It's for just verbs in general. It's not a grammatical rule. It's just a rule. I shouldn't say rule actually. It's just like a pattern. It doesn't have much to do with grammar. It's just the way it is. Okay. What else did I want to say? Okay. So all of these verbs that we wrote, right? These are all past tense. So by default, when you're discussing a verb in Arabic, you're talking about it in the past tense. Or you're saying a verb, or you're like, if someone says, "Oh, what's the word for to do something?" Then you would say the past tense of it. Okay. And this is already conjugated, like this is already conjugated in with he. So he did something in the past. It's already conjugated with huwa.
Yeah, if it's not male and singular, then we cannot use any of them.
Yeah. So I mean, if it's anything other than huwa, you're gonna have to change the verb, right? Just like we did a little bit of it in book one, where we said dhahabu is for they went, right? Dhahabta is for you went, masculine. Um, so in English, right? If I want to say to go somewhere in the past, how do I say he did it in the past? He went. I would say he went, right? In English, I say he went. Okay. What if I want to say she? What do I use? Same thing. Went. What about I? Same, right? I went. What about they? Same. Went. you went. So in English, you don't have to change it because of the pronoun, right? You don't have to change it for the verb that you're. I'm sorry, you don't have to change it for the subject of the verb. You just say I went, he went, they went, for the past tense, right? But in Arabic, how many pronouns do you have? 14. Are they all different? Yes. Yes, they're all different. Um, so basically, that's what we're going to learn, how to say them when they're all different. Okay? So let's review the pronouns real quick. Who wants to say all of them? So Shireen, make you do it. So start from the index finger. Mhm, mhm. Anta. Mhm. Ana nahnu. Okay, brother Anwar, do you want to do it?
هو هما هي هما هن
Mhm,
أنت أنتم أنتن
mhm.
أنتن
Anti.
أنت أنتما أنتن
Mhm.
أنا نحن.
Ana nahnu. Okay, let's do it all of it. Do it together. Ready? 1 second. So, huwa,
هو
huma,
هما
hum,
هم
hiya,
هي
huma,
هما
hunna,
هن
anta,
أنت
antuma,
أنتما
antum,
أنتم
anti,
أنت
antuma,
أنتما
antunna,
أنتن
ana,
أنا
nahnu.
نحن.
Okay, so those are all the 14. How do I say you two? Antuma. Okay. How do I say she? She. Third person. Here.
Yeah.
Okay. How do I say they? A group of them, males. Who said home? Okay. You got home. Yeah. So how do I say we? No. How do I say all of you, a group of females? Antunna. Antunna. So you have all of these 14 pronouns. So what we're going to do is we'll do less than half today.
So in all verb before is past tense.
Yeah, when you're saying a verb, you say it with the assumption that you're talking about a masculine third person past and single. So we're going to start with so what was he? Huwa. Okay, they two. Huma. Them. Hum. And then she.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then them two. Okay. This is where we'll stop. We'll do 5 today, and then we'll do 9 on Friday, inshallah. Okay. So if I want to say uh, he went, how would I say it? ذهب. Right? So I'm gonna write ذهب. So this is the fi'l. Oh, I forgot to mention. So Arabi, how many tenses of verbs do you have? So we're saying this is past tense, right? So you have past tense, you have present tense, and what's the third one? Hmm? No. Past, present, and future is actually the same. There's one more.
You have like perfect passive.
Nope. There's imperative. So you have past, or which is called perfect tense,
which is what we're doing right now. فعل ماضي. فعل. We'll write it later. So you have past imperfect, present and future is the same, and imperative, which is to command, like a command, like to do something. So if I say, if I want to say go instead of he went, then I have to make it different. Okay, but we're only doing past tense right now. Okay, so I said ذهب, so that's my verb. ذهب means he went. Where's the we said every verb has to have a fa'il, right? It has to have a subject. So where is the subject in ذهب? I know, but in ذهب in Arabic, where is the subject? Okay. You will say in Arabic you say that for huwa, put a mark on this, that the subject is actually hidden. Okay. You're gonna say that the subject in Arabic is called mustatir. You don't have to write it in Arabic. I'll write it in English. Mustatirun. Okay. So it is hidden. The subject is hidden. Okay, it's inside. It's hidden inside the verb. So when I say ذهب, it implies that he went. I don't have to. I don't have to say a fa'il because it's hidden inside of ذهب. Okay, mustatir means it's hidden. So I'm going to say the fi'il is ذهب. The fa'il is hidden or mustatir. Okay, this is not. So I put an asterisk because it's an exception. So the other cases, it's not going to be the exception. When I want to say two of them went, I'm going to write the same verb. I'm going to start off the same with daha and ba. Okay? What am I going to say? How do I say two of them went? I'm gonna just put an alif. ذهب. So it almost resembles ذهب, right? The only difference is that there's an alif here. So ذهب.
This is also hidden, isn't it?
No, it's right there. So if I ask you where's the fa'il, where's the subject, the alif, I wrote the alif in red so that you know that the alif is a fa'il. So in Arabic, one of the things that you can write is that the verb will have the subject inside of it. It will be part of the verb. Okay, the subject of the verb will be part of the verb itself. Okay, so when I write ذهب, the alif I'm going to say is the subject. It's just a letter, but that's my subject.
Even if it doesn't say it's huma.
Yeah, even if it doesn't say it's huma, but this alif is the subject. Is the subject. It implies that there's two.
That's because none of the other pronouns will add only alif. That's the only thing for huma.
This is only for huma.
Yeah,
Exactly. Okay, so we have 10 minutes, I think. Okay, so for huwa, we put a star because the subject is hidden. It's mustaqil. For huma, the subject is present. It's there. It's apparent in the verb. The alif is the subject. Okay. For hum, we actually did this in book 1. So I'm gonna start off the same with dhahaba. What else am I gonna put? What's for they went? Dhahabu. So I'm going to put a wow. And because of the spelling rule, I have to put an alif. If you have different colors, it's good, but you don't have to. But you can just make a note that this alif is a spelling rule because you can't end something with wow. Okay. Yes. So because of the wow with sukoon, this fatha is going to make a slight change. It's going to become a dhamma. ذهبوا. So the verb portion is the ذهب or the ذهبوا. Where's the file?
For the third one,
Yeah,
Wow.
the wow. The wow is the file. So ذهب or ذهبوا is the verb. This is one part. Included inside of this verb is the file itself. So you're gonna say wow is the file of this sentence. And why is the alif there?
because we cannot end with
It's a
what.
spelling rule. That's it. Okay. So for ذهب, the file, the subject is hidden inside the ذهب. You don't see it. With ذهب, with an alif, it's there. You see the alif, that's your subject. It implies that there's, or it means that there's two of them. The wow means that there's three or more. Those are your subjects. Okay? Alright. Here, ذهب. I'm going to start the same. ذهب. What else? What am I going to put? What she went? ذهب. But I'm going to put a full ta and put a sukoon on it. ذهبت. She went. ذهبت. But notice what I didn't do. What color have I been putting files in? Red. So this ta is not the subject. This ta is not the subject. Actually, the subject for huwa and hiya are both mustatir. They're both hidden. This ta is there because it's ta'u ta'nis. Ta'u ta'nis. It means it's the ta for making something feminine. This is the ta'u ta'nis.
It's not.
Is it repetitive?
No. I'm saying you have to repeat this thing for me to get it. Because
No, if you're not getting it, I'll repeat it again. But if it's boring to you, I'll speed up.
not boring. It's a little confusing.
It's gonna, okay. So, all right. Basically, what we're saying is that I'm gonna repeat it again. I know. So ذهب and ذهبت, they both have hidden subjects. Okay. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that every verb is going to have a verb and a subject, but for some of them, the subject is going to be hidden inside the verb. But for others, like ذهب and ذهبوا, it's going to be right there. You can circle the wow and say that's my subject. Okay. What's huma? So I'm going to start with ذهب again. Okay. So this is, I'm talking about two women. So if I'm talking about women, I have to have my ta, right? Okay. And then what was the file to denote that there's two of them? Alif. So I'm going to put alif. ذهب ta. Okay. So in all of these, the first three letters, the ذهب, ذهب, ذهبوا, ذهب, ذهب, these are to denote the fi'l portion. Okay. The fa'il is denoted in some of them. So in here, the alif is the fa'il, waw is the fa'il, assalamu alaikum, and the alif, the waw is the fa'il here, and the alif is the fa'il here. Okay. We're just about done, brother.
Yeah, actually I saw the email late.
Oh, okay. You thought it was after?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and
Sorry about
basically
that.
it's very, this time after office.
Oh, okay. It doesn't work, huh? Okay. Well, we were talking about changing it, maybe.
After now, basically we are in the mood of like salah and also
That's true.
energy.
All right. I think we're basically done. So, what we're gonna work on this Friday. We're gonna meet Friday after Maghrib, inshallah.
So today you're not coming back after Monday?
No. I was hoping to get a 50-minute class, which we kind of got. We're about 10 minutes behind. But this is what I wanted to cover. So these 5 conjugations I wanted to cover, and then we're going to do the rest of them on Friday, inshallah. Okay. So basically, everyone go through this with me.
ذهب
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 ذهبوا
ذهبوا
ذهبت
ذهبت
ذهبتا.
ذهبتا.
Okay, that's basically the first 5 ways to conjugate he went to go. Okay, in past tense. So you can apply this pattern to to all of the other patterns. Let me get this out.
Just like that's a male, female, right? Dhahaba is like you go.
No, it's he went.
Right? He went.
Yeah.
He went. Dhahabu, they went, right?
Yeah. So actually, I'll give these out on Friday because I want to wait. But we can apply this to all the other verbs. What if I wanted to say he sat? Jalasa. So we're gonna apply this jalasa to these same ones. So we said huwa is for jalasa. What if I want to say 2 of them sat? Jalasa. So I'm gonna take the same jalasa but add an alif here. Okay, because alif is the subject. What if I want to say a group of them sat?
Jalasahu.
Jalasu. Jalasu. What about she sat? Jalasat. And then 2 of them sat?
Jalasata.
Jalasata. So you can apply this to all of the other verbs that follow in that pattern. Okay? So inshallah we'll meet on Friday after Maghrib. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
I realized like around